Hello, I'm Richard Lewis. I'm an artist, and I'm here talking to a great painter, Cydney Camp, about her work and her exhibition, Venus Undone. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. I don't remember all of it, but you gave a great statement that laid down what the show is really about. Um, and you said you were unpacking like kind of the history of representation of women, and there's there's the history that's shown in Western art, which I knew about, which I know a lot about because that's really my main thing. But you also said something about images that have come down from chattel slavery, and that's something which I'm sure it exists, but I hadn't been like completely aware of it. And so I wanted to know, first question, which is like, what are some of those images?
Sure. When I say image, I mean it in image in this context, I think of as more of a non-representational thing,
Okay.
in the sense that the image as stereotypes or cultural conversations and identities and things that have been put upon Black women because of these histories, these colonial histories. And so I think of the at slave markets, right? Like that as one of the foundational sites where Black people, but speaking of Black women specifically, were fetishized and objectified as this commodity. I'm thinking about the fact that there are no direct accounts from women who survived the Middle Passage.
Okay.
And that whenever they were referred to in historical documentation, they were often referred to as Venus. And so I'm pulling from those ideas and also the ways that Venus as this mythological figure has existed across time and art and history, and sort of creating these new moments where it acknowledges that past, that reality, and how it continues to live on today, and also imagine how might it be different, or what are the effects of it, and what could that be in a different world or place or time.
You see traces of that still today. Like where?
Like the way that we are objectified, fetishized, commodified through pop culture, as an example, right? Sarah Bartman, also known as the Venus Hottentot, being another example that of a Black woman's body being used to for entertainment, and also while she was alive and in her death, like medically, there was a lot of research done on her as this person who could not really consent, because she was entrapped under these structures. And those findings, there's some medical terminology that was created from people studying her, and just the way that like the sort of stereotypical conception of a Black woman's body, very voluptuous, and like that being something of excess that is both it's both desired, it's privately desired and publicly shunned. There's still so many taboos that are visible and invisible, and they come up at different times, but there's been a lot of work to combat them, but they do still exist.
I think I remember the woman they designed the French dress off of, where everything up here was thin, and then when it got to her behind, it was like it just peels off. So you can see it. I mean, this is like 19th century French fashion that they designed off of her body or a body like hers. Yeah. Yeah. I saw someone was talking about this movie with I think her name was Tiana. Did you see that? It's with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Did it come out recently?
Yeah, and it's like like the characters have these, like one of the characters, the female character, has this terrible name, so it's like still going on.
Sure. Yeah. And if you don't have diverse writing rooms,
Yeah.
you run the risk of reproducing those kinds of issues rather than presenting them in a more critical, thoughtful light that allows room for growth and exploration.
Okay.
I think I know the movie you're talking about. I can't remember the name either.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's still, they invite themselves to give these characters these names and follow this, like completely oblivious to the women themselves, these storylines, to yours, which, to your paintings. I mean, we shouldn't call them then political, because it seems like maybe flattening out what it really is. It's like more human than, to me, I'm saying this is more human than, academic, something like that,
Yeah, I think that there are political things about them, certainly, right? Like this inquiry of our representation and, invoking these historical realities and narratives and challenges that have brought us to where we are today is part of it. And just thinking about the Black woman figure as her own being rather than a body subjected to the gaze, the male gaze, the white male gaze.
Yeah.
I think of that as political, but I don't know if I would call them out political.
Good.
If that makes sense.
Are you even interested in seeking that out, like bringing politics into your work? Is that even like a goal right now, or at all?
It's not the main focus, but it is something that I think is important to have space within the work. I think all art can be really powerful if it addresses those things that create inequity, you know, or bring to light the stories and truths of the world of life that a lot of people try to hide.
Okay. Changing the subject, just very briefly, the scale of these works. Why did you choose these smaller scale pieces? I mean, I think it works magnificently with the way they're painted, you know. But had you been working with smaller scale works? Okay.
Yeah, I paint a range of works. There's a lot of reasons why these are small. I'm going to start with the practical ones.
Okay.
I think I'm burned out on large scale stuff from grad school a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that I challenged myself to go bigger. But when I graduated, I didn't have a studio space for a little while. I was in some life transition in general, and I was trying to still make the larger scale paintings, and I found that I was really struggling in a way that was unproductive, and it made me question why I was making art and what I enjoyed about it, and like, you know, should I be doing this? And I eventually, I did get a studio space, and I started making again, and I tried to make some larger works. They were frustrating to try and create, but one day I came in and I said to myself, we are not going to touch these large campuses. I actually cut up a sheet of oil paper
Yeah.
into like 6 sections, and I challenged myself to just do a little study. Like each time I came to the studio, just to stay active and to get back into a more productive, conducive mindset for making art. And through that, I discovered so much. It really put me back in touch with my practice again, but also I learned that there's like something really special you can do with a brush
Yeah.
at a small scale, where, you know, you like swipe up a color and you dab it on, and somehow it becomes a face.
Yeah.
You know, and you swipe up a darker color and you add it, and, you know, that's like a contour for the nose. And it's I found it to be a really simple yet effective way to build form, and also like flirt with this abstract quality that I'm always seeking in my work, where I think of, like, I always say that I use abstract marks to describe representational form. And working at such a small scale, I feel like was the sort of the ultimate like way for me to do that. And at the end of the day, as I started to paint, I discovered that these were moving like creatively more than the large canvases. So I texted Melanie. I was like, listen, we've been talking about this show. I don't think I'm going to have anything larger than 8 by 10. What do you think? And she was very supportive.
Yeah.
And we agreed on sort of a range of pieces to create. And I did that. And I think there's also this added beauty of the scale, like the way that it the way that it grabs your attention is very different than a large canvas where like you see it and immediately everything is right there. You know, like you already think you know what you think about it. But these, they draw you in and make you want to get closer, and almost they invite you to get lost in some of these tiny details. And I think just, you know, the subject matter, Black femininity, is such an intimate conversation. I think it's really nice that the scale of the work and the way that they live in the gallery is sort of this ecosystem for that. It's really interesting to observe how people interact with them.
Yeah.
You know, some people will kind of do a lap. Others will like stop and get really drawn in. And yeah, it's really exciting to, you know, one, have made these, but two, to see the way that they inspire people to respond.
I feel that way too. Now I almost want to go and do small ones myself.
It's fun.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's like when I was in grad school, one of our teachers talked about how, you know, fun it is to paint when you don't have to be exactly yourself you've been up to this point. You know, and I've been, you know, and I was doing giant paintings, you know, but, you know, they wear me out sometimes too.
Sure.
And smaller ones are just, you know, they're like they're freeing, you know, like they let you off the hook. You can now be everything you love about painting, you know.
100%.
So, let's see. This one, that one right there, that's the, like a birth of Venus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Forgive my possible mispronunciation. It's titled Venus and a Diamond.
Okay.
And that is the classical mythology of her birth story, where she rises out of the sea as this fully formed being. She's typically depicted coming out of a shell, and with some other mythological figures surrounding her. Flowers are also common, but this one I was interested in getting a little more interpretive with the formal elements. I had the concept of like, what is her birth story? And I wanted to paint it in a way that is not, you know, a traditional, like I think what she's seated on sort of suggests a shell, and there is the sea in the background, but it also sort of turns into the sky, and you know, the shadow and highlight areas are not always consistent with like what happens in real life. But I, you know, in my research and just conception of this body of work, the thing that really kicked this conversation into gear for me was Saidiya Hartman's Venus in Two Acts.
Okay.
And so that got me thinking about this, you know, the many connections between the Black Venus figure, as she theorizes, and the classical mythological Venus figure. And one of the things that they had in common was the Atlantic Ocean as a significant site. And for the classical Venus, it is where she was born, and for the Black Venus figure, it is where she dies. and where it's um, the the passage to a life
the
of
passage,
death, and yeah, so that was also something I was thinking about, just in like what is a birth story?
yeah.
What's in a birth story?
Statuary.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens there.
That one is, I was thinking just of like the imagery of like a Venus, like a the word is escaping me, like an artifact, a Venus statue from hundreds, thousands of years ago that's been excavated from some site, and she's often got different body parts missing. Oftentimes it'll be the arms.
Yeah.
And so that's why I chose to paint this figure without arms. But I was also thinking about, just her as a statue on a pedestal in sort of a garden setting, which leads into more questions around, the objectification of Black women and what is beauty, and what is her power in the face of that.
Her power meaning, like, to persevere, you mean, or?
Persevere, her agency, like what control does she have over herself, and particularly in a situation where she may be subject to a lot of things beyond her control.
Yeah.
What control does she have? Which I think is a question that's also applicable to everyone, right?
Yeah.
We all find ourselves in scenarios where we don't have much of an ability to change what's happening to us or around us, and finding the way to be yourself and make yourself okay, and that is important.
All right. I was looking at this one too, and that's like landscape painting, right?
Mm-hmm. That one is titled Hot Spring Toilette.
Okay.
I was thinking about Bob Thompson a little bit
Yeah.
when I was making this one. I love how he creates this symphony of people and animals and places out of color and shape, and there's very little detail in it, but it's so captivating and alive. And so this general idea of the way that he arranges figures in a space in this larger landscape was sort of what I was drawing from here. And also thinking about the toile, the European toile pattern as, like, this is my pattern. Okay. There are these Venuses hanging out at a hot spring in the forest, and it's sort of like an idyllic moment, that's it sort of morphs and turns and melts into a lot of different possibilities and areas, and like geographical features too. I wanted to keep it a little ambiguous. That's another through line, not just for this body of work, but the way that I paint in general. I like that tension between the recognizable and the ambiguous.
Are you as interested in painting nature as humans? Are you equally interested? and painting landscape?
That's a good question. I will say I most often consider my figurative work as my finished work.
Okay.
I do have finished nature paintings, but I find it most compelling when the body is somehow interacting with geography.
Okay. But on its own, I mean, you would,
Yeah, I
I
have.
mean, okay.
I have, yeah. I think, I don't know, I always tell people I'm kind of like a boring painter. I paint people, I
Yeah.
paint still lifes, I paint landscapes,
Okay.
but the way that I paint them is very non-traditional.
But why traditional painting though? I mean, I'm asking you because when I was younger, it seemed like the most talented people seemed to lean toward, well, when I was a kid, they leaned toward abstraction. And then when I was an adult, they leaned toward conceptual art. And now it's like, I mean, it's great to see, you and Paul and, everyone from your generation coming up, and you all are like really invested in painting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, was there anything that happened over the past 30 years that, that really got you all, interested?
That's a good question.
Like, gung ho about it,
You know, I didn't start painting until 2016.
Okay.
And I started with acrylic. I did that for about a year, and I'm self-taught. I don't have much formal training in art at all. And so oil, when I was learning about paint, I thought oil was really interesting, but I was very intimidated by it because it takes a little more prep and cleanup than acrylic
Yeah.
paint. And the day that I finally tried it, I fell in love.
Okay.
And I am really enamored just by the tactility of it. I think paint in general is something that helps me process what it means to be connected to the natural world.
Yeah.
It keeps me grounded, and it's something that's is a very concrete medium, and I like that. But there's also a side of me that is interested in exploring how to make it different, and how to expand it beyond the four corners of a canvas, even though I really like painting on canvas. Yeah, it's something that I didn't grow up thinking that I would be an artist. I would not have told you that I wanted to be an artist. It was not even a concept that I had. And when I started painting, the more I did it, the more I was like, I want to see where this goes.
Okay. See, when I was younger, people used to say things like painting is dead. And I'm like, very happy you all missed that, that you weren't there for that, Where it's like, even in the schools, it was like, when I first went to CCS, there's a lot of figurative artists there teaching, but it wasn't, it was like the abstract and conceptual artists were more favored.
Sure.
And then, when I went to grad school, it was like, it was a lot of figurative artists there, but everybody, it was the painting program, so we were all painters. So
Right.
it was wonderful then. But like in the 30 years since, it's been this like wonderful explosion of young painters, So, I mean, I don't like I didn't understand how it happened, what everybody's story was, but I'm really glad it happened.
Did you ever find yourself challenged between like wanting to paint figurative or abstract or go more conceptual?
No. I mean, I mean, no one ever challenged me anyway. I just, I was going to do what I wanted to do anyway. But, I mean, whatever I got, like in grad school, whatever they challenged me on, they were right, But, really, no one really, because it seemed like slowly but surely, and it's not always great, but slowly but surely everyone was moving towards figurative painting anyway.
Sure.
But and it was great, but it doesn't mean that everyone was taking it seriously, because I always thought that a lot of them were painting like each other, you know. So, so I was happy overall, just a little bit apprehensive about it. But
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of exciting young painters today, and also that maybe the conversation is shifting towards more conceptual space.
yeah,
But I do think that there's something to be said about this age of technology and information that we're living in, and how a painting can slow you down, no matter if you're making it or looking at it. And I think that is really important, and maybe another part of that rise in interest. I don't know.
yeah. Well, then that's great too. You can have both. The one called Just a Girl, what's happening in that one?
That one is so there's like this popular phrase on the internet right now that people, usually women, will use, mostly ironically, when like there's like your boss asks you to do a really challenging presentation, or you forget to like go to an important appointment because you are having like a bad day, or you just like need to have a mental breakdown, and people will say like, I'm just a girl, as if to say, what what more can you expect of me, or why are you putting this pressure on me, or like, I'm just a girl, innocent, here to exist and to be cared for. And I think of it in that piece as like, and I feel awful. I cannot recall the name of the artist at this moment, but you'll know the painting I'm talking about, the Black woman. And it's blue, and she's sitting on the edge of the bed like this.
Okay.
And I was thinking about that piece.
Is it recent?
No,
Okay.
no. The energy of that piece of a Black woman at the end of a long day, or starting, getting up really early to start another long day, and just preparing herself, getting herself ready mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And so I was thinking of that, and like what being just a girl means, and like this woman, I imagine her coming home after a long day, taking off her clothes, throwing herself across her bed, and just laying there. And it's a moment that I think a lot of women identify with. Like, you come home, you take your bra off, and you're in the house. You know, like you are now able to relax. And so I was thinking about this idea of like total relaxation on your own terms in your space, and just like the rawness and beauty of that like shared like girlhood experience almost.
Yeah, you talked in the statement about like the looseness of the paint was like a dissolving of these tensions too, you know. And so as you're talking, I'm thinking about that as I'm looking at that painting.
Yeah, that one was interesting and a little different too. I used a lot of cold wax medium in it, and it creates sort of this matte finish, but also it was very textured.
Yeah.
And you can see the brush strokes, and there are some areas where I thinned it out more with mineral spirits and like kind of built it back up again. And I think like that, in some parts it almost feels a little hurried, you know, and that pace, I think is really important to the piece as well. Just this idea of like, you know, it is a little chaotic to come home and just like throw yourself
Yeah.
on your bed, and then it turns into this moment of dissolve and resolve in some cases.
The wax medium, how does that work for you? Because I've been trying to use that for like decades and I never get it right. You know?
I don't know if this is the right way to use it or not,
Yeah.
but I, you know, mix up a color. I will add usually about like as much of my thumbnail size, like that much. If I want it to be really thick and matte, and then I'll add a few drops of walnut oil and mix it, because it turns into cement almost, you know, if it's like if there's not a lot of solvent or oil in it. And if I want it to be a little thinner, like I did for that floral piece, I think it's titled Floral Object, the green one, like the kind of bushy green florals in the vase. And yeah, I thinned that one out a little bit more, and it created this moment where you know, the brush strokes are still pretty visible, and there is some tactility in some areas that are matte, but there's also somewhere I add a little more oil, and it's, you know, it kind of gleams and is more fluid in those passages.
Okay. I'll give it another shot there. Because I'm finishing a commission, you know, and I really I wanted to have some translucency through the paint as I get this last layer on there, you know, and we'll see if we can make that work. The one next to it
On the left?
on the right,
Okay.
I didn't get the title of that one, but it's, I mean, it's great the way, it's great the way all of these that are in nature seem to be really connected to it, you know. I think my favorite of those with that quality was the liminal one, because it feels like there's lightning there, you know, like there's a storm, there's a lightning there.
Yeah.
And I remember like, for some reason there was like a really bad storm. This was when I was living in Southfield, and I I went and stood under this, this part of the house where you can't get hit by the rain, but I just wanted to look at it, and it was like really powerful. And this one reminds me of that, especially with the change of the clouds, light and dark, like there's lightning going through it, and the light from it is shining on her too.
Definitely. Yeah. I was thinking about like this liminal space as an emotional space, a psychological space, like a physical, environmental space.
Yeah.
And absolutely, like, I almost think of it as like it could be the storm, is only half of the painting, and the other half is a little ambiguous. Like it's, that's the day, the blue sky fading away, or that's like the other side of the storm. But yeah, she's in the middle of something.
Yeah.
But she's completely vulnerable. Just I think like her posture and the fact that she is nude, I think suggests that. And it remains to be seen whether or not she's okay being in this liminal space. But I like the thought that you may look at the painting in your home one day and be excited to be in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
And you may wake up another day and then be like, man, I wish I had a better rain jacket. I do not want to deal with the storm today.
I assumed, and sometimes you post things outside with trees and plants and everything. And I'd assumed that you were a painter who goes out into nature and paints, landscapes,
I most often will take a photo of it.
Okay.
And I will paint that. But I've tried plein air a couple times. The first time I did it, it was a disaster. And I did not have a good time. The second time I did it was much better. But yeah, that is something that I would like to practice more. Because you do get a different quality of artwork when you are painting from life, either the space, or a person, or even a still life, as it may, the lighting shifts and so do the shadows and the colors, and maybe it's decomposing if it's, made out of organic material, and all of those temporal changes are necessary.
No, I've never done it, But then with me, I'm so like, who I am. I really have to break away from it. I mean, because it would mean carrying a 40, 50-pound easel and a big canvas out there. But I can do smaller ones. But still, it's just like carrying a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a whole logistical thing
Yeah.
you got to figure out. And then what do you do with like your paint rags? You got to carry that around.
I mean, I might, I would probably try and consider it though. But this one first, I think it's called Venus in Profile. Okay. So the figure is amongst trees. It looks kind of like twilight. And her head is in shadow. So anything specific about that, or is it just, you want it to paint it,
Nothing super specific about that. I was thinking a little bit about this idea of the bather, And the notion of like this private act of bathing made public, you're in nature, but also like there may be others around you. And so it's not clear if there are other people with her, but I think of her as sort of like moving through, some sort of clearing, or maybe, maybe someone has recognized her and walking by.
Do you like Cézanne's bathers? Okay.
I've been reading a little bit more about Matisse recently, and his bathers. The I can't recall what year it is, but it was a real turning point for him, where the forms are geometric. It's the three figures,
Okay.
and the palette is it's a little more grayed down.
Yeah, I was thinking of, once I found out about this show and that we were going to talk, I was thinking about, the painters who had done like not completely finished, not completely detailed paintings, and can only think of a couple. But this is a ton of them. But I liked Cézanne's in some part because they were so awkward and not so perfectly finished, though he could do that.
Yeah.
I don't really remember much about Matisse's, but I like Corot, like his, I like his unfinished landscape paintings too, And I thought of all of them, like when I was looking at this and how great these are. They want to ask about the first painting coming in the door, because that's another one of my favorites. I don't know the name of it, but I love the two figures there relating to each other with the trees and the blue sky with patches of blue,
Yeah.
So it wasn't the first one. It seems like it might have been, one of the later ones,
Yeah, it was maybe like midway through.
Okay.
The Woman in Liminal Space was the first one. And
Wow.
this one behind us,
Yeah.
Woman, was the second one. And that's when I was like, okay, I think I have a thread that I want to pursue. But for the piece towards the front, Two Graces, another sort of quasi-bathing environment
Yeah.
that I was thinking about. And there's, it's actually painted on top of another painting that, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, like wiping away the old painting or letting it dry and adding to it. And I added to it. And so there is almost sort of the suggestion of a third figure in there as well.
Incredible that you can get so much into that small space. But it's like, you set yourself free to do it. Also incredible that the liminal one is the first one. It's like a home run on the first try. Just one last question though. In some of your works, the eye is placed somewhere else. It's like cubism. So you incorporate that into your work. Like, do you incorporate cubism purposely?
Yes.
Okay.
The way that I incorporate it has changed. In some of my earlier works, I would literally like cut up old paintings and paste them onto new paintings, and the forms would be disjointed, and there was not a lot of continuity between the figure and the environment. And then I started thinking about it more compositionally, and like painting some things out of place or larger than others, or some things like multiple times. But then I started to like collage the composition together in order to do that. And I mostly think of it now in the way that I am liberal with the types of form and their placement, but also theoretically and conceptually as this vehicle for exploring, multiple realities at once, multiple emotions, states of identity, and like being able to hold it in one container. It doesn't mean that it is reconciled, that it's good or bad, but like laying out that that idea or environment of like holding all of the things in one space and living with that reality. And yeah, I think just in the world that we live in today, there's so much required of us, and that we require from each other and ourselves, and it's one of the ways that I make sense of it all, putting it all in one place.
All right. It's very nice talking to you about painting.
It was an honor to talk with you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.